Yo, what up? It's Carter, and tonight what I wanted to talk with you about are feelings of shyness, social inhibition, feeling like you're trapped in your head when you're around women or when you're around, just people that you want to connect with in general, and how to transcend those feelings, because they are some of the most difficult feelings in the world to work with, and they're feelings that will severely limit your opportunities in terms of just making connections throughout your life, but especially, when it comes to dating and relationships. All right, and this is, I can resonate with these feelings because I used to deal with them a lot when I was younger. I battled with a huge inferiority complex, basically from a young age, starting in middle school, going all the way up through high school. And I started studying social dynamics, evolutionary psychology, and consciousness around the age of 13. And now that I have come out the other side and I have a great dating life, I have rock solid self-esteem, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to report back to you some interesting findings and a method that I have not really seen shared anywhere else that you can actually use to transcend your shyness and your feelings of social inhibition. Because shyness can be experienced as a gradient. It can be very intense or very subtle depending on who we're around or what situation we're in. But at the end of the day, in my experience and in my opinion, it's just an illusion. It's just a pattern that's reoccurring. And it's something that you can break through, given that you know how to do it and given that you know exactly what's going on. Because many people, they're attached to the story that, they are an introvert. They've given themselves that label that they're an introvert. They've given themselves the label that they're unattractive or that they're undeserving when they're in the presence of certain people. And as a result, they shut themselves down. But what I'm going to do in today's video is I'm going to introduce you to the concept that shyness is not you at all, in fact. Shyness is really just a reaction that you've developed, and it's basically just a prison that you're living in, but you can transcend it with the right tools. So we're going to be going into what shyness is, how to actually transcend it, and I'm going to give you a bit of a roadmap today to actually do so and get some really solid fucking results with this, because I've been able to do that in my own life and vastly improve my life experience as a result. And I know that you can do this as well, okay? So really, just to start, what is shyness? Let's just define what any feeling of shyness or social inhibition is. And again, this can be intense or subtle depending on who you're with. I know that if you're trying to get better at dating, for example, there's probably some girls that you can totally, kind of just be at ease around. Or you can kind of be more expressive around or be yourself a little bit more around them. Or maybe there's certain friends where you can be yourself around those friends and you can kind of just be out of your head, kind of get outside of your shell a little bit and express yourself, and it's a lot easier and it takes a lot more effort, okay? But then again, you go around some people, you get in some situations and you're shy. So what is that shyness? Really, the way, and this is not a dictionary definition, but this is the definition that I found to be the most helpful in my experience. What you could define shyness as is really shyness is just inhibited self-expression, okay? As I mentioned before, around certain people and in certain circumstances, you're able to easily express yourself. It might be around your family, it might be on Xbox when you're talking with your buddies, it might be with a certain girl who you actually don't find that attractive and maybe you think that you're outside of her league. Whoever it may be, wherever it may be, you have experiences and circumstances in your life where you have the ability to express yourself. An authentic, natural self-expression, it's very charismatic, right? People tend to think that charisma equals energy. It means you're high energy. It means you're super expressive and all over the place. But charisma can also be low energy, and charisma can be, there can be low energy, low intensity charisma that's very captivating. So really, to me, what I define charisma as is just raw self-expression. And you'll find that there's many different types of charismatic people, and really the underlying, common denominator is that they're able to express themselves very easily, and they're not trapped in their head. They're being very spontaneous, and the words are almost rolling off of their tongue. The actions that they're taking and the moments and their behaviors in the moment to moment, it's very spontaneous, it's very authentic. They're not thinking a step ahead, they're not auditioning for people's approval. That's really what charisma is. So what you'll find is that in certain situations and around certain people, you actually have charisma, right? You actually have real, raw self-expression. And really what's happening is that in moments where you feel shy, that self-expression is being inhibited, and it's causing you to project low status, which kills attraction and dating, which kills your ability to connect with people. And really, it just feels like you're in a fucking chokehold when it comes to just expressing your soul. All right, and it's very infuriating because when I started working on my dating and social skills, what I tried to do was mimic high status behavior, because that's what everybody was telling me to do. And while that did work a little bit, what I realized over time was that, again, we all have a natural God-given charisma and radiance to our personality, and that's called the real self. But what happens is that gets inhibited due to things that happen in our life. Okay, and then we start to fill or form basically a shell around ourselves, and then what we tell ourselves is, oh, I'm shy, oh, I'm an introvert, oh, I lose energy when I'm around people, I'm not like the confident, high status, attractive people, right? We start to buy into that lie, we start to put that label on ourselves, and then we try to artificially recreate charisma. We study people who are charismatic and we say, oh, look at that little behavior they did. Oh, look at that little thing that guy did when he was talking to that girl. Look at that way that guy carries himself. Look at that high status behavior. Look at this high status behavior. And there are literal fucking organizations across the planet that just teach you to mimic high status behavior. There are coaches all over the world that teach you to mimic high status behavior. Okay, but the thing is that most don't realize is that, again, what if, those people, the reason that they're high status and the reason that they project confidence and that they're socially attractive and are attractive in a dating context is not that they're doing all these high status behaviors, artificially or robotically, and then we have to copy them. But really the question is, okay, well, why are they able to do that in the first place? Why are they naturally projecting a sense of free self-expression? It's because they're not inhibited. It's because they're not living with this fucking boulder, with this weight on their shoulder like you are. Okay, so really the key when it comes to charisma and letting go of shyness is first realizing that you don't have to do anything to be charismatic. You don't have to do anything to feel comfortable in your own skin at all. And the fact that you think you need to recreate it, it's coming from the false assumption that, charismatic people are doing something in the first place. The most charismatic people are not doing anything at all. It's like a direct expression of their God-given nature and their true self, okay? So that's the first thing that I'd tell you, is that shyness is really just limited and inhibited, boxed-in self-expression, which projects low status to everybody in the environment and tells them not to socially align with you. Because the way that our attraction mechanism works in our mind is that we feel attraction around people who have survival and reproductive value, who have traits that would basically indicate that we'd survive or reproduce. Attraction's an animal mechanism. It's not a rational decision that we make. Right, and one of the biggest traits that you can have in terms of being attractive as a man and projecting that you're the full package as a man is just confidence in yourself. Okay, and that means just raw, unfiltered, just boom, this is who I am. That says a lot more about you than anything that you're going to say or anything that you're going to do, which can be faked. And this is actually how people read each other's value socially and in a dating context. This is how a woman reads your value, is by judging your demeanor and your behavior over a span of time, rather than just looking at these micro details and analyzing these micro details. Okay, so really what you can take from that is that, again, you don't have to do anything. This can be natural and it can be easy for you, but what you want to understand is that you became shy and you became socially inhibited for a reason. Maybe you're around a really attractive girl and you feel kind of boxed in your head. You kind of feel like you have to perform to win her approval over, which is very debilitating. It's very degrading on your self-esteem. Maybe you're just around people who you think are higher status than you, and again, the same thing's happening. Maybe you're around your family. I know for myself, for most of my life, and I've been very shy around my family. My whole fucking family probably thinks I'm an introvert, right? And that's just because of things that happen to us as we grow up. And really my model and my way of working on this, again, it's not to mimic behavior, it's not to microanalyze our behavior, but it's instead of saying, hey, I feel shy, what now? I feel shy, now what? Now what do I do? What thing do I have to do to create the false appearance that I'm confident? No, it's why am I shy in the first place? Why is my self-expression getting boxed in the first place? And this is where you understand the evolutionary origins of shyness. Shyness is just a behavioral pattern that is meant to keep you safe when you have a very limiting self-image, which is a construct of your ego, lower states of consciousness. Okay, so the reason that shyness develops in people is because they have certain life experiences where they experience very intense animalistic survival emotions a lot during their childhood, and especially in social situations. Okay, so in a method called the Sedona method, which is where they teach you how to release suppressed emotions, right? It's similarly in the vein of Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, another fantastic book. What they tell you is that lower consciousness emotions, they really limit your ability to take action and to put yourself out there, and it takes a lot of effort to suppress those feelings about yourself. It creates a lot of inner conflict. Okay, and those lower consciousness emotions, they call them AGFLAP. Okay, and that's just an acronym. It basically means apathy, which is the lowest, grief, lust or desire, anger, and then pride. Okay, and that's AGFLAP, they call that. Okay, and basically what they teach in the Sedona method, and what they teach in basically a lot of different veins of release work, is that when you have a ton of these feelings inside of you that are suppressed, and we often do suppress them at a young age, you never let go of them. You just distract yourself from feeling them and you push them down. Okay, and what happens is you feel enough of these, you suppress enough of these, and as you're growing up, what happens is you start to basically live in those lower states of consciousness. All right, and those lower states of consciousness are a part of the ego, according to David Hawkins' map of human consciousness. So when you're in egoic states of consciousness primarily, what's happening is you're living through animalistic survival emotions primarily. And what those animalistic survival emotions, what their primary objective is to keep you alive at all costs. So what happens is that if you just happen to have fluke experiences when you're a kid, or you happen to have a lot of intense experiences when you're a kid, that basically or when you're trapped in these animal modes so much as a kid, your ego starts to form this self-concept or this self-image, right? This identity for you, okay? And the way that our minds work is that, socially we're always trying to figure out where we're at on the totem pole, okay? So if this is the social totem pole, right? And this is the alpha person at the top, this is the most beta person at the bottom. Whenever we're in a social environment, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's being in a group of people, we measure where we're at on that totem pole, and then we pick where we're at on that totem pole. And basically, that is the deciding factor on whether or not we express ourselves. And this is an evolutionary reflex because we actually evolved in 25 to 50 person tribes. Okay, and if you acted outside of your range, if you tried to act, like you're the man, but you weren't the man in tribal times, that could get you killed. It could get you thrown out of the tribe. If you tried to talk to a woman that you weren't deserving of, that your ego, that this construct of the mind thought that you weren't deserving of, that could get you killed. So all that shyness is it's your ego trying to keep you safe. It's the animal part of your mind trying to keep you safe because it thinks that you're a worthless piece of shit. All right, you have a self-image that thinks you're a piece of shit, and your unconscious mind is filled with these suppressed emotions, which is fueling this survival reflex to be shy and to box yourself in. It's fueling this self-image, right? It's telling you who you are and what you deserve, and it's keeping you in a box. And again, unconsciously, we're always trying to stay congruent within this box, right? We're always trying to stay within alignment of this box and not go outside of it, because that could mean death. Right? And even though realistically, logically, it doesn't mean death, if we express ourselves socially, it doesn't mean death. This is what happens when we live in animalistic states of consciousness primarily. Okay? So when you're constantly living in the range of AGFLAP, what's happening is you have a very constricted self-image that wants to keep you alive at all costs, and it thinks that putting yourself out there socially equals death. So what you'll find is that maybe if you're with an attractive woman, or if you're talking to a guy who's a lot higher status than you in terms of the social hierarchy, what you're going to find is that there's a lot of inner conflict and inner turmoil that's telling you to perform and win over their approval, or it's telling you to just shut up and to just become invisible because it's trying to keep you alive. Okay? And so that's really what shyness is. Shyness is just an animalistic behavioral pattern that comes from our evolutionary background as a species. Okay, so it's not something to beat yourself up over. It's very common. It happens to a lot of us. But you just have to understand where it's coming from, because shyness is not you. It's a universal thing that happens to all human beings for this reason. And this is very simple. This little thing that I just told you, this is a gem that took me probably close to a decade to figure out. All right, but that's the truth of it. That's the root background of where shyness comes from. Now, in release work and in letting go, which I teach in my channel, I kind of have my own perspective on teaching it and how it relates to dating, confidence, social skills, self-esteem, and self-expression, things like that. What they teach you is that you can poke at the unconscious. You can bring those suppressed feelings back up, which, again, you've suppressed and you're carrying with you. And then in these certain circumstances, you're getting triggered and you're having this disproportionate reaction. You're getting all nervous and paralyzed. That's how you know you have a lot of suppressed emotions inside of you, by the way. Right? When you see a girl that you want to go talk to and you freeze up as if it's like a fucking lion staring at you about to eat you, you know, but she's just a 90-pound girl, but you're literally petrified to go speak to her. That's how you know you have a lot of suppressed emotions in you. Right? That's how you know you have an overly constricted self-image that's trying to keep you alive. And that it's not seeing the world accurately. What is taught in release work is that you can poke at the unconscious, you can bring the suppressed feelings up, and you can release them over time by simply being with them and not trying to change them. So unconsciously what we do is whenever we feel uncomfortable throughout the day, usually, and whenever we're getting these negative thoughts popping up in our mind throughout the day, it's the result of suppressed feelings. One single suppressed feeling can create millions of thoughts throughout the duration of several months or even a month. You know, we have, I think it's like 100,000+ thoughts a day. It's like a ridiculous amount. All right. And again, the suppressed feelings are what is creating the social inhibition. It's what's creating that limiting box, that limiting self-concept alive. It's the suppressed survival feelings that are stored inside of you. Okay, and again, the tricky part is that people start to identify with this and they think that this is them. No, it's just a pattern. It's just a survival reflex. All right, but what's taught in release work is that if you simply, instead of diverting your focus away whenever you feel these negative feelings starting to bubble up to the surface, if instead you're open to them and you actually choose to dive into them, what happens is you'll find that any feeling has a shelf life. So if you feel mad or if you feel sad, if you stop getting caught up in the story as to why you're mad or sad, if you stop resisting the fact that you feel mad or sad and you start, and you stop feeling, oh, I don't want to. But if instead you say, hey, I'm just going to be with this feeling unconditionally without trying to label it as bad, without resisting it, without wanting to change it, without, feeling like shit for feeling it. But if instead you say, hey, it totally makes sense that I'm feeling this. I've been storing this and bottling this down for my whole life. What you're going to find is that if you just stay with that feeling instead of trying to run away from it, what you're going to find is that it has a shelf life. And if you dive into it and if you allow it to be there, however intense it feels, however subtle it feels, however long this takes, eventually it will dissipate. All right, and that lower consciousness emotion, once you've dissolved it, it will naturally be replaced with a higher state of consciousness. Because the self, in what I teach and what I've learned, self-expression, the self is a very high state of consciousness. It's higher states of consciousness. It's simply covered by these survival emotions. So as you let them go, the self-expression starts to pop through. And self-expression, you could define it as like a cork being held down in the water. When you stop suppressing everything inside of you and you release it, what you'll find is that you naturally become more self-expressive. So now, instead of having to muster up the courage to go approach the girl, now instead of having to feel like you have to perform when you're with a girl or feeling like you have to perform in any type of social setting, what you'll find is that you actually gain energy from talking. You actually gain energy from expressing yourself in an unfiltered manner. And this is the problem with the introvert label is people, again, they begin to identify with that behavior and they begin to label themselves that way. But truly, introversion, feeling like you're being drained from social interaction, it comes from living through the ego. It comes through managing a false persona, trying to stay safe. It comes from coping instead of thriving, instead of truly putting yourself out there in an authentic manner. Authentic self-expression, authentic charisma is completely effortless. The best public speakers in the world who don't have a script, who just freeball it, who literally just like go without a script, guys like Owen Cook, for example, they're channeling higher states of consciousness, and what they're doing, the way that they're cracking jokes, the way that they're expressing themselves, what you see guys who are charismatic doing, it's actually 1,000 times easier than what you're doing, which is being trapped in your head and trying to basically fucking survive, okay? And so the key is that you want to understand that, again, Self-expression can come naturally as long as you start to let go and release the suppressed emotions. But the problem is that, and this is the tricky part of dealing with an inferiority complex and negative self-image or shyness that has been chronic or lifelong, is that the moment that we feel it, we want to limit it, we want to label it as bad, and we want to feel something better. The moment that we don't muster up the courage to go talk to the girl, we start to beat ourselves up. The moment that we feel like we should be talking to everybody, but we don't, we start to beat ourselves up. And that's why the shyness persists. Okay, and the key with releasing shyness is that you have to realize that whatever you resist persists. Okay, so that's why shyness stays with us for so long, is because we constantly resist it and label it as bad. All right, but there is a way past shyness. There is a way to dissolve the suppressed emotions that are keeping the shyness inside of you alive. And you'd be surprised that no matter how lifelong the shyness issue has been for you, you can actually release that shyness as long as you're willing to be persistent and as long as you're willing to stop judging yourself for feeling that way and recognize that it's very natural, it's very normal that you've felt this way for your whole life given your circumstances that you've been through in your life. Okay, so how do you dissolve the shyness? All right, and this is a methodology that I'm going to give you that is going to be extremely useful. This is not a quick tip. This is not the 3 tips to become more confident. This is actually diving into the root of the fucking issue and dissolving it forever, permanently. But it's a process that takes a little bit of intuition, emotional intelligence, persistence, and time. Okay, you're chipping away at a lifelong issue. You'd be surprised how fast you can let go of it. You could let go of it right now if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you could let go of your shyness right now, but your ego is attached to feeling shy because it thinks that that is what's keeping it safe. It thinks that that's what's keeping you alive. But the reality is that, again, self-expression is effortless, and it doesn't require any effort whatsoever. Okay? So when you dissolve shyness, when you let go of your inferiority complex, you will become very charismatic naturally. All right, so you don't need to do this performance. You can drop the whole performance. You can drop the need to feel safe through the method that I'm about to share with you. Okay, so this is it right here. Whenever you're in social situations, you're going to notice that, shyness starts to bubble up. Feelings that could be labeled as apathy, grief, lust or desire, anger, or I think I missed fear in there. There's fear in there, pride. You're going to notice that those come up. Okay, and so if you are feeling shy, you will know immediately that you primarily you're living with a lot of those suppressed emotions, and you tend to be really hanging on to one the most. Okay, so social anxiety or shyness, it's a conglomeration of those many different emotions. Okay, those many different states of consciousness right there that you're suppressing and that you're holding within yourself that are blocking your natural charisma and self-expression. So the key to going above that, to what in the Sedona method and in Dr. David Hawkins' work they call CAP, courageousness, acceptance, and peace, which are states of consciousness where you feel inspired to go talk to a cute girl, where you feel inspired to put yourself out there and crack jokes. To experience those higher states of consciousness, again, all you have to do is let go of the lower states of consciousness. Okay, and just as a little side tangent, that's why they say that laughter is the shortest distance between two people. It's because laughter and self-acceptance and genuine connection, where you're sharing your genuine sense of humor, which is totally unique to you, by the way, and based on your life experience, when you share that with somebody, that's literally a higher state of consciousness. It's your self is shining through more, right? Self-expression is actually happening more realistically and vividly, and the other person's self is shining through, and there's more of a connection as a result. That's part of what I teach, is actually reaching higher consciousness states over time, so that you can have more vivid, real connections with people with less effort. Okay, but what you can take from what I've told you so far, again, is that you're primarily living within AgFlap, right? So if you had the courageousness, so action starts with courageousness. If you had the ability to go talk to the cute girl, if you had the ability to put yourself out there socially, you would be in courageousness. You would have enough courageousness to say, I can, right? You'd have enough courageousness to say, I can. Courageousness starts when you start to think, oh, maybe I could go say hi. Maybe I could put myself out there. Okay, and all you have to do is keep tipping the threshold up and up until, that feeling of I can overcomes the feeling of I can't. All right, and again, That happens through what? Releasing the ag flap emotions, the limiting emotions that take so much energy and willpower to suppress, that are stopping you from putting yourself out there. You don't have the energy to put yourself out there. No wonder, it's because you're suppressing all these feelings that are creating all this inner turmoil and conflict that are causing you to come off as awkward and shy. Okay, so what I recommend is put yourself in situations where you know you're going to feel a little bit of social anxiety or performance anxiety, where you're going to feel like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. You know, situations where you're like, oh, I don't really like feeling this, I shouldn't be feeling this, I don't like this feeling. Put yourself in any type of social situation, whether it's going on a date, whether it's going and saying hi to a girl, if you can muster up the courage to do that, whether it's just going to a party, whether it's just maybe going to your local gym in a public, just any public place where you know that you're going to start to feel those feelings bubbling up inside of you, those sensations bubbling up inside of you. And all you're going to do is, instead of getting caught up in the thoughts that start to pop up, instead of resisting where you're at, instead of attaching yourself to wanting to do something better and having an aversion to how you feel in the moment, I want you to just allow the feelings to be there, whatever they may be. All right? Whatever those feelings are, let go of any resistance to feeling them. Okay? And instead of beating yourself up and feeling ashamed of yourself or feeling guilty for feeling those feelings, recognize it is totally human, and it's totally normal to be feeling the way that you're feeling right now. All right, give yourself some credit. Recognize that there's a little kid inside of you that's just scared, that thinks you're gonna die. Okay, so the ego, again, it's not something to fight against. It's something that's just trying to keep you safe, but you have to recognize that it's a construct of limitation, and that it's far from the true, authentic, radiant, and abundant self, which takes no effort to express. Okay, so recognize that, hey, this is just this ego, this shell that I've developed kicking in, this limiting self-image, which isn't really me, that's kicking in. And just be there and witness the feelings that come up. Simply be there and witness the feelings that come up. All right, so all I want you to do is witness the feelings that come up, not resist them and not try to change them. Okay? And what you're going to find is progressively, as you do this in social situations, you're going to start to become less and less shy in those situations. You're going to gain more access to your energy. You might even find that when you stop trying to force yourself to go talk to a girl, at a certain point, what you'll find is that you actually feel inspired to go talk to her. When you stop feeling like you should be feeling something else and not feeling what you're feeling in the moment, dude, this fly is going to get knocked out. What you're going to find is, this is the problem with living in upstate New York. Fucking mosquitoes and flies everywhere and shit. What you're going to find is that eventually you actually feel inspired to take action. That's a higher consciousness state of courageousness. But until you get there, just simply feel those unpleasant emotions. And those emotions are going to manifest as what? Feelings in the body, sensations in the body. So really, just manifest them. All right? And if that means that, hey, you know, and again, this is whatever is going to bring the feelings up in you. So if that means maybe you're in a situation and there's a cute chick that you want to talk to, maybe you're at the gym. Imagine yourself actually going and saying hi. Vividly imagine it. What sensations come up? Put yourself in a social situation where the feelings are going to come up. What sensations come up? Progressively up the ante for yourself and put yourself in situations that make you more and more uncomfortable socially. Witness the feelings and allow them to be there. And allow those thoughts to come up. Allow the resistance to come up. The way that you let go of resistance is by allowing it to be there, not trying to change it. The way that you let go of feeling stuck in the anxiety is to allow yourself to feel stuck. Okay? To allow yourself to resist where you're at, instead of resisting the resistance. You know? And what you're going to notice is that maybe some really insidious or dark thoughts come up as well. I'm a piece of shit. I don't deserve these people. I don't deserve to be in these people's presence. You know, there's something wrong with me. I'm weird. I'm a creep. All right? And these thoughts are going to come up. Don't get caught up in the thoughts necessarily, unless you know that they might bring more sensations out of you. Then you can briefly kind of dive into that thought a little bit more. But generally, thoughts are cyclical and never-ending. You really want to focus on the feelings which are creating the thoughts. Okay? And the more that you can dive into the feeling, and the more that you can witness it, what you're going to find over time is that you're going to get more and more access to your self-expression and your willpower. And you're going to have enough courageousness to put yourself out there more and more. And this is a project that can take days, weeks, months, but every time you simply are there for yourself and those feelings unconditionally, you're slowly releasing them. You're slowly letting go of them, because emotions, feelings, they don't hold on to us, we hold on to them, because our ego gets a narcissistic pleasure out of doing so. Our ego gets to feel safe by holding on to those lower consciousness states that it thinks are going to keep us alive, but in reality are just making us miserable. Okay? So if you wanted to do this fast, put yourself in more intense situations. If you want to do it slow and just chip away at it over time because you're a little bit too scared to put yourself in those situations, do that too. All right? And just recognize and don't allow your mind to play tricks on you. Oh, the technique's not working. Oh, it's not going to work. Allow yourself to keep doing it. And what you'll find is that as you dive into the feeling, you start to feel lighter. You'll start to feel little pulses and senses of relief. Okay, and any shift in behavior that's in a positive direction, any sense of relief, any feeling that you're a little bit lighter, that means that you've let go. Okay, and it might take a long time, it might take a short period of time, you know. And again, because this anxiety and these feelings of shyness are a conglomeration of many suppressed feelings, what's going to happen is that you're not just going to release it all in one session. It's going to take multiple sessions of you triggering yourself proactively, and then releasing, you know? So all I would recommend is that instead of resisting your social anxiety, instead of resisting your social inhibition, you know, maybe you feel trapped in your head around a girl, maybe you feel guilty that you don't have the courage to go approach her, maybe you feel guilty that you're shy around your family or shy around certain groups of people. Instead of feeling guilty, instead of being ashamed of yourself, just witness it, be with it unconditionally, and release it bit by bit, piece by piece. And what you'll find is that you'll just naturally and spontaneously start talking to people. You won't even premeditate it. You'll just start saying things. Maybe you'll start talking to the cashier more. Maybe you'll start talking to the baristas more. Maybe you will start talking to your family more, people that you've had severed relationships with more. And that is a result, again, of leaving the lower consciousness illusions of the ego behind and recognizing that you are more than that. All right, but it takes time, and it's a process that takes persistence. So it's not something that you want to rush. And again, you want to recognize your inherent innocence. These things were programmed into you likely at a young age, and likely in very realistic scenarios where you didn't know any better other than to suppress those feelings and run away from them because they were very intense. All right, and I go into many different ways on how to release on the channel. You know, I actually just did almost hour and a half long course on release work that you can go watch for free, no strings attached. That's totally free. I do coach this. I would love to work with you if you want me to expedite the process for you. But there's no strings attached with these videos. These are truly the same techniques and practices that I use in my own life and that I have used to completely transform my dating life. Because when I was a kid, I was really fucking shy. I couldn't talk to a girl for more than 30 seconds. It felt like a performance, like I was auditioning for approval. And I was not able to actually authentically connect with people, you know? And what you'll find is that as you chip away at this and as you work on this by proactively triggering yourself and releasing the suppressed feelings, is that, again, you become more charismatic naturally. You naturally start to feel more at ease in social situations, a whole lot less like, you know, you're doing something wrong or I need to perform for these people around me, but you start to feel more like, no, like I can just be me. And listen, when you are truly yourself, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's the only way to meet the people that truly love you for who you are and really are excited to see you. It's the only way to meet those girls who, you know, you don't have to really put in a lot of effort when you're texting them, or you don't have to really put in a lot of effort to see them again because they're just fucking excited to see you and just get another hit of that energy that you bring. You know, your unique energy signature that you are one of one at when you double down on it. See, a lot of guys are trying to, you know, basically put their stock and put their confidence into other things, which I talk about in other videos, but it reduces their energy signature. The more that you let go of social inhibition and that you let the self shine through, the more that you find those ride or die people that really want to be in your life. So this overall has a positive net effect on your life the more that you get it down, and I highly recommend that you invest into this practice. And again, results, you know, the time may vary, but the results do not. If you do this, it's going to improve you no matter what. Okay, and don't take my word for it. Actually practice it, actually try it, but beware of the traps, because this is an emotionally intelligent practice. It's not a quick tip. This takes a little bit of persistence and emotional intelligence from yourself to be able to do it. This is the real work that people don't want to do. Okay, So I recommend watching that video that I did on release work, the little mini course. You can navigate to my playlist and you can find it. I might drop a link in the description for it as well, so you can check there too. But yeah, the more that you do this, the more vivid attraction you're going to be able to create, the stronger pool of attraction you're going to be able to create in women, the more you're going to be able to feel comfortable and at ease and in your own skin in social situations. And the less you're going to start, the less you are going to worship, at this altar of other people's opinions. Because what you'll find is that when you have a lot of shyness and inhibition, you are a master at making everybody else right and yourself wrong. You're a master at making everybody else right and yourself wrong. It's always, I'm wrong. It's always, how do I perform? How do I change who I'm being? And this behavior occurs a lot less when you let go of these lower consciousness survival emotions that are very animalistic and are very detached from your more divine nature. The kingdom of God is within you, not when you're living through animal needs, right? Not when animal needs have captured your mind. Okay, and this is a practice that will affect you positively in every area of your life, and it will allow you to have an elite dating life. It will allow you to make connections on the spot without effort at all, where you just put yourself out there and you broadcast yourself effortlessly, and people will be asking you for tips and tricks on how to be as confident as you are one day if you practice this enough, just like has happened to me in my life. Okay, so I have faith in you, and I promise you're going to get fantastic results if you put this into practice. All right, so as always, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.